If you have to make love in the dark or with half your clothes on, it could have something to do with your negative body image or with another problem. Dr. David McKenzie is a couples counselor and sex therapist who joins us once a month to explore intimate issues. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. David McKenzie back to Studio 4 to tell us more, and back from Morocco.
Yes, yes, sleeping in the desert, riding on a horse with no name, you know.
Really?
Yes, we rode camels.
Yeah.
Yeah, slept in the Casbah, rode camels.
Did you see a camel spider?
Yes, we did. Yeah, it was terrifying, actually.
I'm sure.
They eat scorpions, and they have a jaw that goes like this, and they'll tear a hunk of flesh out of you. But they're actually, in nature, our friends. They're our allies.
Okay, fine.
So, but I did not want it crawling into the tent in the Sahara Desert with me.
I guess not. And you took your wifey for lifey with you and all of that.
Yes.
It's exotic, isn't it?
Very exotic, yeah. We saw where Lawrence of Arabia was filmed and went through the high Atlas Mountains, and the people are wonderful. Went through the Medina. It was just great.
Oh, great. And I know you were thinking about body image
well,
and this show, how we feel about our bodies.
I was.
Okay, good. Because it's so important, isn't it? If we can embrace our bodies and think they look fabulous no matter what they look like.
Well, it's interesting. You introduced it by saying, do you have sex in the dark or undress in front of your partner? Actually, in a recent study, it showed that women who have a positive body image, that is the one prediction they can make about them, is that they are willing to undress in front of their partner and have sex with the light on. There's only a strong correlation between women with poor body image and lack of sexual desire, sexual interest, lack of orgasms, and so on.
Really?
It's interesting. The reverse is true in men. Whereas poor body image will predict risky sexual behavior in women, in men, positive body image is predictive of risky sexual behavior.
Are you telling me there are men who don't have positive body image?
Sure, lots of them. Lots of them.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you know in your soul if you are really there? You've arrived as far as how you feel about your body, especially about your aging body.
Yeah, I sure hear you. One author, I forget her name, I bought her book called Still Sexy After All These Years. And it was a great book, an affirmation of the body. It is. I remember once I said to my son about 8 years ago, I think I'm going to have a little facelift around here. And he's 33, lives in the island. He says, Dad, you're getting older, deal with it.
Right.
And it really is a form of grieving, of letting go of the old and gracefully embracing the new.
Well, you know artists who sketch models, nude models, and you can be sketching some. I'm not an artist, but I have a friend who is, and she sketches these amazing bodies, and there's ripples and rolls and fat, and she can see beauty in it.
Sure. Well, I mean, you only have to look at the paintings of Rubens and others. Body image changes with the culture. It's a social construct. And so today, thin, slim, athletic is the key. Whereas 100 years ago, overweight, heavy, lots of flesh was very sexual.
Well, I can tell you, as a woman of a certain age, that lights low are nice, candles good. And those of us who were not terribly buxom are getting a little just revenge.
Yes.
Because the women who were.
I know where this is going.
Exactly. So now we perky ones are having a better time as we age, I think.
I show a cartoon in one of my public presentations of this very old couple sitting on a bed, and Walter has his hands where his wife's breasts are, and she says, Walter, they're no longer there.
Exactly. They're near my belt.
That's right.
Ha-ha.
That's right.
Anyway, all of that.
But the bottom line is a positive body image does correlate with better sexual experiences, with a variety of sexual behaviors, with orgasm in women, with initiative, whereas poor body image has lower initiative for sex in women.
Right.
And
so as a parent of a young woman or young man, how do you help them have a great body image?
I think
embrace their bodies, love their bodies, even if their ankles are fat or they've got a little tummy.
Yeah, don't mention it. I mean, I think a distinction, I know a distinction has to be made between what we believe is nice body image and health. If you have a morbidly overweight child, that is a health issue. And it should be approached from a health issue, never from you want to look attractive for boys and you want to look attractive for girls. That should never be said. Your body is your body, and it should be approached from a health basis.
Right. Well, I have a fairly secure body image, I think.
Sure.
I haven't done the test,
Yeah.
but I don't have enough of one like some of the women I see on the beach. They could be plump, they could have cellulite, they're waltzing down the beach having a great time. Most of the women in our circle were towel girls.
Yes.
Now, we used to strut. We don't strut quite as much anymore. What's that about? We should be able to.
Yeah.
You're just thinking,
well,
oh, I don't know, I've got a tiny flaw.
There is this competition that women, I guess, arrive at naturally in their evolution. They're constantly competing. But my own wife, she would not mind my telling you this. She has, she's 52, but she has the body of a teenager. But, I mean, I'll say, oh, I've got to look at my weight. She says, yes, I have to look at my waist too, and she's gained a millimeter. And so it's this constant self-flagellation.
Maintenance.
Yeah, but...
Okay, so tell me, what is going through a man's mind? He's about to make love to you. You're in the bedroom, and he sees you, and everything isn't perfect. Does he worry about it as much as you do?
Wow, do I get to represent all men this morning?
Pretty much. Well, do you know what I mean? Well, like my male friends say, men don't care that much. They don't care nearly as much as you think they care.
That's right. Well, there are... Your core erotic theme determines what you're basically attracted to. I have a friend who's very attracted to very, more than robust, actually very overweight women with huge breasts.
Right.
There are other men that I have counseled and so forth who are naturally attracted to slim, athletic women. That will probably never leave you.
Right. It's physical. And it's a physical attraction.
It's psychophysical. It's within. But if there is a deep, sustaining relationship, that goes a long way, and love and commitment goes a long way to keeping the sex alive.
Right.
I don't think, however, that either a man or a woman should just let himself go, feed on the potato chips, and just become fat and huge, because that is now a health issue.
But if you love someone, do you pay more or less attention to their body? By that I mean, if you're having a one-nighter and just an encounter.
Well, I think body is important. We're not disembodied spirits floating around. We have a corpus. We have a body. And so I think what's important to men is that a woman knows how to take care of her body. Even if she has a weight problem, if she dresses nicely and is well groomed, and if she likes makeup, in other words, she likes her own body. Self-confidence is the biggest turn-on for both men and women you can find. So if a woman is confident about her body, even if she is overweight, that is a turn-on for men.
And you can tell immediately, because if your date or your husband or wife is hiding in the bathroom, turning the lights out and bolting to the bed, you know that they're not okay with their body.
Well, that's true. Another factor that came into this is that the hip-waist ratio is really what is mainly attractive to men around the world. So you can be significantly overweight but have the proper hip-weight ratio, which is a sexual turn-on.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes. Well,
I like that.
What usually,
you know how we get little blessings? Well, I got a waist.
Yeah. I guess the biggest thing I wrestle with clients is just the body is the whipping child for what's going on inside. It is the case with anorexia, or especially bulimia, in which when the person starts to feel bad about herself, she starts to overeat and then purge. She starts to take it out on her body. And oftentimes women who are feeling bad about themselves inside will start to be very critical of their own bodies. Now, I just want to say this. I believe that goes back to childhood. And I almost did my doctoral dissertation on the role of father or a significant male image in a girl's life or a boy's life. I disagree with those feminists who say that men are not important in the raising of a child. I highly disagree with that. David Blankenhorn wrote a book called Fatherless America, and in that his thesis is that the role of males is vital in the development of a child. Now, I heard a psychoanalyst once say that around 2 or 3, when the little girl has to break from her mother and turn her attention toward the most significant male in her life, he described it as this little girl with a dress running with her arms wide open, "Daddy, I love you." Now, if that father is uptight within himself, is not in touch with his own self, is emotionally unavailable, that little girl will pick it up just like that. She will never say, what a jerk. I'm a beautiful human being. He should love me. No. The little girl or the little boy will always blame herself. I must be ugly. I must not be worth loving. That little girl will stay in the adult all the way through until she resolves that or her death.
I think that's very powerful. They've done studies on that with women with anorexia.
Yes.
Emotional connection to the father. Emotional connection to the father. Did you have a father who loved you, embraced you?
Yes.
What about watching how your father treated your mother? That imprint. If your father thought your mother's body, because we're talking about body image today, was gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah.
No matter.
Oh, sure. That's early.
Always pinching her.
Well, that's great, Fanny.
Well, no, some parents, we've grown up with parents who don't touch each other.
Of course, that was my
some of us.
parents' generation.
Mine too.
Yeah,
I mean, my dad might have hit my mother on the bottom or something, and she'd say, "Bill."
More than my parents did.
Well, I guess that was his way of being affectionate, but he was emotionally unavailable, emotionally injured.
Sure, sure. Well, that has a deep psychological scarring for a child, but also simply the modeling of being in love with each other, of being affectionate, that's a model for any child to emulate.
What if you, when you watch your mother parading around the house, stark naked when you're little, or in a slip, or you've never seen your mother undressed, and there are people who haven't.
Yes. What about it? What's the question?
Well, what is that? How does that affect how you feel about your body when you grow up?
Oh, absolutely. You see the world through your mother's eyes, whether you're a boy or a girl. You ultimately see the world through your mother's eyes. So if your mother is self-conscious about her body, has poor body image, you're going to be struggling with, you know, who is it to be a female? Who am I to be a woman if my own mother is not comfortable in her own body? If your mother is comfortable being a female, the likelihood is you'll be comfortable being a female, and you'll embrace yourself.
Right. I think that's very powerful. So if you see, because parents are, I know there's a certain age where kids are a certain age, especially your sons.
Yes.
Perhaps you don't want to be parading around the house without your clothes.
Yeah.
But does it matter? I don't know.
Well, I think the argument could be made though in terms of boundaries. I mean, just like, you know, I think the case has to be made that when you're going to the bathroom, you don't leave doors open. Families that work well, relationships that work well, as I've said many times on this show, have to have a sense of firm boundaries. Otherwise, they become codependent. They're constantly assaulting and crossing over into boundaries. So I'm not a prude, far from it. But there is an element there is an element of modesty which I think is important, especially in determining boundaries. As a mother, you don't parade naked in front of your 16-year-old son. You just don't do that.
Or his friends.
Or his friends.
But you know, if you're a teenage girl and going through, I went through it, I don't know if all teenage girls do it, it's kind of your modest time. Well, you're just your first brassiere, and you think, I'm not letting anybody see. You know, you're very private at that point.
Sure. Especially if there's a sense in which you're being made fun of in grade 7 or 8 in which you don't have large breasts. That can be very traumatic for a girl.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I remember that.
I don't know the experience myself.
You don't? I'll tell you my experience with Larry Sassick, grade 9.
Oh, dear.
Because I was a titch flat.
Yes.
And I used to wear my sailor blouse, but it had a big bow on the front, and I thought, if I stick that up, maybe he'll date me. He'll never know. Eventually, I landed him.
Good for you. Well, I guess all I want to say is that I think it's important to be aware of your body, to treat it healthily, to exercise, to make sure you don't become overweight, because that's a health issue.
But if you don't feel sexual, and I know what it's like to be away on a beach and you come home tanned and you're fit and you feel fantastic and you do feel more sexual.
Yeah, that's
It would just make sense.
My wife says that she always feels very randy when she's been in the sun all day.
There's something about sun.
There is
and
something
randy.
about sun, yeah. I think it raises serotonin levels or something.
Well, that must be what it does, because I totally agree. More sun, more randy.
Yeah, sure, that's right.
But
also, the principal of my institute where I got my doctorate said one of the greatest turn-ons they found is women buying clothing. When a woman goes out and dresses herself up and feels good, she feels more sensual and sexual.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
But what about same-sex relationships, to women, to men?
Yes.
My gay friends, most of my men friends who are gay, are very concerned about body, more so than the heteros.
Yes, that's
it's
true.
just a casual observation. Don't know if it's true.
And I found in lesbian relationships that there is oftentimes less emphasis on body shape and body look.
Right, but not in
the gay
men.
population. There's much more of an emphasis on positive body image. And of course, there is a concern amongst the gay population, and gay medical doctors are talking about this, is that a positive body image with males is, as I say, associated with riskier behavior. And so that is a concern, especially in the gay community, because in San Francisco, the report came out a year ago that now HIV transmission is starting to rise again. So there's a real concern in the gay community.
Okay. So what do you do about a woman who always had a spectacular body? And I know that's in the eye of the beholder, but a knockout. At a certain age, lets her go. Maybe after 2 kids, whatever, and now is all plumped up. What does that say about herself?
That's a really interesting
Why you
question.
let yourself go to that level? Is it a sexual protection? Because you can't feel that. Well, maybe you do.
There are a lot of variables to that. I think a woman needs to check out with her medical doctor if there's a hormonal imbalance, if it's peri or postmenopausal, the hormones change, body weight changes, and so forth. I have also found that, well, Dr. James Miles, the late psychiatrist at UBC, said that in his experience, 80% of women who are grossly overweight have been sexually abused. I don't have any stats to back that up. But there is a correlation between women who are heavily overweight and early childhood sexual abuse. Clinically, I've noticed that. The other issue is what's going on in that woman's life. Is she in a very unhappy situation? Is she depressed? Is she trapped? And oftentimes when a person starts to change inside, the domino effect is they start to maybe lose weight, change their hairdo, get a new set of clothes. The outside reflects the inward.
Yes, you see that in some divorces.
Yeah,
you do.
Totally change.
Ms. Mausberger suddenly turns into va 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 voom, and you think, what happened to you? And it can work with the men too. Suddenly they're getting fit, and I know you're back into the dating scene, which is a bit terrifying when you're a certain age because
of course it is.
It just is. If you've known someone for 30 years and they've seen you, they remember you when you were 16, you see, so you know that image is always there.
All the more reason to work on the relationship you're in and make that work, not be going to distant field or greener fields. It just is not there.
It's also about energy in some way.
I've often said maturity is simply getting to the place where you're too damn tired to care anymore.
Sure, I totally understand it. I don't know, you probably never, well, you haven't been to a female gym in Los Angeles and in the sauna with those girls. Hello. They all have like legs to the sky and you know, not real ones, but lots of it, and everybody's perfect. I always get on the bottom shelf. I think, I don't know.
Fanny, you're a babe.
I'm not that kind of babe. How nice to see you.
Oh, great to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. David McKenzie. And coming up, our ambitious work gang who are into balancing business and pleasure weigh in on holidays. Who takes them, who doesn't? Why is it so difficult to hit the beach and leave your work at work?